This little farm seems like it's in the middle of nowhere, but we're actually not that far from San Francisco. We're in Sonoma County, just about 7 miles from the ocean. Each of us have always liked Christmas trees, and when we were in San Francisco talking about living on a farm, having a Christmas tree farm sounded very romantic and appealing. I find it very satisfying to take a little seedling out of a plastic container and put it in the earth and watch it year after year. In the winter, they're so pretty because the earth is kind of bare and all you see is this tiny little green shoot sitting there, and it looks so small and helpless. And come summertime, the grass is all grown up around it, and you wonder if it's going to be able to survive. I've come to accept the fact that Michelle has AIDS. There's no doubt in the world about that. And she's having a great life, and I'm having a great life with her. So it's not an utter, total tragedy at all. Helping a tree to grow is a little bit like helping a child to grow, I think, in that you have to provide basics. Once they're established, then you have to trim them, usually once a year, kind of like a haircut. For quite a while, I was feeling kind of haunted by AIDS, but not directly involved because I was not in a risk group of any sort. We were just approached by some social worker to consider taking some children into our own home, and we'd never thought of that on our own because we thought you had to be a married couple with an income. We were neither married nor had any very stable income. We were sort of surviving day to day. Michelle was our first baby, and she was 5 months old when she came. She should have been dead several times, and she's not. She's thriving. I'm not exposed to any danger of being infected unless I were to get blood, their blood, into my bloodstream somehow. Kissing the babies is no problem. They sneeze and cough and spit up and everything all over us all the time, and that's no problem either.
All dried out.
I think our decision to form a community was not conscious. It just started happening I guess it was in the early 70s, and we were all involved in the Humanist Institute in San Francisco. A core of us, which was Toby, Marty, and myself, felt that we wanted to live together and to have a place in the country, and all of it seemed like just a very wild dream at first because none of us had any money or anything. We used to use the term monastery. We don't anymore. We abandoned it partly because it has a whole lot of connotations that don't fit us and don't fit at all what we're trying to do or about. Catholicism is a common background for all of us. It's also something that we find some comfort in, that we're not just doing something on our own. We seem to be anchored in something that's pretty solid and universal, and so there's common ground with other people.
Choose life as will may be, a leaven for the human family. Then shall you live in peace, as justice bears a gift of freedom throughout all the world.
Is it your will that Cecilia Michelle should be baptized in the faith of the Catholic Church? Huh?
It is.
Cecilia Michelle, I baptize you in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen.
I've been asked to share my hopes for this child, and that's a pleasure to do. I was philosophizing quite a bit recently and coming to the conclusion that the most important quality for a person, a child, or a person to have is the ability to give and receive love. And some people are not so fortunate. Michelle knows how to do that. And so my hope for her is, it's not necessarily a future hope, it's a confidence that that quality is going to see her through any kind of hard times that will come, and that she'll be a source of joy and strength for all of us.
My hopes for Michelle are that she experience as much joy as she gives.
I'm very proud to be asked to be her godfather, and my hope for you is that you be just like you are now, simple and happy and at peace with God.
Is it good? Goofy.
There's a lot of grief in living with AIDS, but the grief is not the dying. It's the lost dreams. Looking at a child and thinking that she's going to be really nice when she grows up, and then realizing she's not going to grow up. I remember one summer night carrying Michelle. It was a full moon, and she was wiggling and dancing, and I thought how wonderful she'll be on her first date, dancing in the moonlight. And she's not going to have a first date.
There's those feet again. Should we go to bed?
When we were asking our doctor, should we be doing this, since we weren't medical people before we started, he said, medicine has nothing to offer these children. What they need is a home and a family and somebody to love them. And we said, well, we have that. So we began, and I'm now convinced that that there can be nothing more important than for the children to have a home and a family, and nothing else matters. don't you grab yourself a plate? There. There. We have a napkin, please.
Our kids are spoiled in a way because they have so many fantastic clothes and toys and celebrations. I think we're always aware on some level that this may be the last Halloween or this may be the last Christmas. And so we make it really great. The one problem I have with people assuming I'm a regular nun is that I'd rather be seen as just a regular person.
That one, the one the pole's pointing to.
We used to wear a habit. It was just a denim thing, but it looked sort of nun-like. And I had a car full of kids going somewhere to do something, and I was going to also get the ingredients for the fruit cake we make and have this ancient recipe we do every year. And I needed apricot brandy. So I was in a little town, and they didn't have it at the grocery store. So they said to go over to this hotel, and when I went in there, it was just a bar, and there were all these old guys in there drinking, and I come in my nun suit and sort of embarrassed, and I couldn't get the bartender's attention, and finally, when everybody in the place was looking at me, he finally came over there, and I said, "Can I have some apricot brandy?" And he announced it for everybody to hear, and the whole place just was cracking up looking at me, and anyhow, and then I said, "Well, it's for fruit cake," and then they just broke up. Anybody believes that? We make about 80% of our income for the year through making Christmas wreaths and raising trees. This year is the first time that we've had trees big enough to sell, so that's a whole new adventure that's going on. I think the whole Christmas tree tradition of bringing a tree into your house had to do with winter solstice and that kind of thing. It wasn't necessarily a Christian thing at all. It's some kind of a symbol of life. I remember when I was just kind of starting on the spiritual path, asking myself really, why Jesus had to die, and I didn't ever really know the answer to that. I don't know why Josh had to die either. It just happened. I certainly don't think he was atoning for anything, responsible for anything. I think from his point of view, his life was complete. From ours, it wasn't. When he came, he was literally starving to death.
Hi, baby boy. Hi, baby boy. Hi. Oh,
He's a little sleepy.
oh yeah.
Those first 3 nights, he was up every 45 minutes or less, wanting to eat, and I was just like a zombie. I was so exhausted.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we got a smile.
There's a smile, right?
And I was thinking to
Sure.
myself that I just couldn't
What do you think?
do this. I couldn't function at all
You're gonna get lots of smiles.
with so little sleep. And I almost resented him for it.
Marty, maybe you
But then
better
after
bring
about
this
3 days, he
photo
was
in.
full.
I should.
And then he began to change, and he became a chubby little guy and downright pleasant. He was not able to relate much. He was like a very, very young baby because his brain was not developing. But there was a pleasantness about him and a real presence, like you could always feel he was there, even though he was not actively participating in what was going on. He was just very, very present.
Life's better now, isn't it?
And
It's in the shade.
we always felt like his personality was kind of a wise, jolly, older fellow. And we sort of talked to him that way. Where our train will ride, but all the little travelers are snug and warm inside. Somewhere there is sunshine, somewhere there is day, somewhere there is morning town, many miles away. You're funny. You're silly. Did you see the new baby? Did you see the new baby? What do you think? He's having a bottle. That's okay with you, huh? Yeah. For a while, everything was so hopeful with him. Everything was going so well. There was nothing but progress, even though very, very slow. When he was able to be propped up more and not just tumble over in a heap, that was a big victory. And we even got to the point where he was almost smiling. Can we have a smile, please? Hmm? And it wasn't until just before Christmas when all of us, individually, without saying anything to each other, began to just sense that he wasn't quite as aware, or he wasn't, something was just wrong before he was really sick. We just felt like something was not quite right. And so at that time, this was like early December, I began thinking that maybe we wouldn't have forever with him. And I remember Toby saying to somebody else that this was a little boy who was not going to walk, and that shocked me. Somehow it hadn't really occurred to me that he wouldn't walk. Finally, he got a little cold one weekend and then seemed better on Sunday. I called the doctor on Monday. And since he seemed better, the thought was that I didn't even need to bring him in, and then it was Monday night that he got sick.
I remember when Josh was in the hospital, I went in and there he was on the crib with tubes and wires. He had a heart monitor and a oxygen tube and I don't know what all, something in his foot. And I couldn't pick him up.
I wish we would have had a little longer with Josh. I wish he could have had the next spring, because it felt sad to me that he died when it was so cold outside and missed Christmas. In a way, our children are much like a Christmas tree, which might be that their life is short by regular standards, but nonetheless beautiful by non-regular standards.
We're not here to commemorate the life of a pathetic little boy. We're here to celebrate the life of a young warrior. Josh was always growing, and he was always dying. The day before he died, he cut his first tooth. It came through. And Sister Marty said it was a triumphant tooth. And it was. You know. Sarah's at the engine, Tony rings the bell, Josh swings the lantern to show that all is well. Rocking, rolling, riding.
It's hard to talk about death, but it's something that we think about a lot. And the surprising thing to me is that when it comes, it seems to be the right time. I certainly don't want to think about it much in advance, but in even a short life, there comes a time when it's complete, and it's time to let go. And the children know how to do that with a lot of grace. And then when it's all over, there's a lot of sadness and emptiness. And there's definitely a hole in your life. And a time of coldness and rain and pain. But every year then spring comes, and after every death, eventually you learn to get ready for another life.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, close your eyes.
Hop up.
Close your eyes.
Hop up.
Yeah.
Hop up.
Nikki was born in a hospital in which she stayed for 2.5 years of her life. And she never, well, maybe once or twice went outside. She had been in a car once, and she had never played with another child. She had a room of her own. She had never seen anyone else eat.
Here. Do you want to? Where's your foot? Where's your foot? Here you go. How does that feel? You feel like your hair's pretty clean? It looks pretty clean. You know what, then we'll put on some lotion. Nicole's about 3.5 now. When we got her, she was a little frightened child with kind of a non-stop tantrum that I think had been going for 2 years or so. And now she's pretty mellow, pretty happy. It has a lot to do with being able to walk. And even though she's diabetic and can't have the kind of treats that the other children are able to have, that frustrates her. But she's overall very cheerful. I think it's especially courageous the way that she stands still, cooperates with her diabetic shots 3 times a day.
Little drop.
Perfect.
Perfect.
She takes great delight in small things, especially accomplishments. She was so proud when she walked. We were all very proud when she walked. It was to me like a symbol of triumph over adversity. And I think, in fact, her life is a symbol of triumph over adversity.
Eagle feather. Okay. That's a big step. Watch it. Okay. Can you hold on? Can you walk by yourself? Because then I can take Nikki's hand. Okay. Okay, honey. You want to try one hand? You want to try one hand? My hat. You look kind of silly with my hat. Kind of silly. Huh? How you doing? All right. You take it off? Okay. Put it back on. Is that all right?
What I want to do is to give the children an opportunity to experience the sun, the wind, the rain, whatever, to see how very pretty things are,
Yeah. Right.
to let them
Yes.
be in the garden and get covered with dirt and play in it, to let them get out in the wading pool and splash around, and
You don't want to pull them off.
just to have all the kind of fun experiences that any child would have. And what's different about it is that the alternative for them would have been to be in a hospital room,
Here's the
having none of that. Sometimes spontaneously I'll just grab Michelle or Nicole and take them out to look at the moon, even if they're already asleep. and they just wake up and look at the moon and then go back to bed.
Hi. Oh. Well, look at here. You guys really weren't very asleep. Hi.
Oh my goodness, your pants opened up.
Children usually get AIDS from their mother's IV drug use. They say, well, the statistics keep changing, but it used to be that a child would probably be sick within 6 months of birth and dead within 2 years. And from what I've heard, the children who tend to do better have a chronic pneumonia condition, which is what Michelle has.
Here's the way the ladies go. Huh? Wanna do that? Here's the way the ladies go. Amble, amble. Here's the way the gentlemen go. Trot, trot. Here's the way the
Little teapot, short and stout. Here is my handle. Where's your handle? Here is my spout. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, just tip me over and pour me out. Tip me over and pour me out.
Okay.
How about patty cake, Michelle? Let's try it.
Patty cake. Patty cake, patty cake. Baker's man. Bake me a cake as fast as you can. Roll it. You do roll it, and punch it, and pat it in the pan.
David is almost 3 now, and he's completely healthy. He does not have the AIDS virus. He was adopted before we were even considering doing anything about children with the AIDS virus. He's the one where we can comfortably talk about his future, talk about things that he'll do when he grows up.
Look at that big airplane. Okay, hold on, everybody. That's,
In March, we got a
he's
phone
got
call
taxi in here.
about
All right.
a woman who was pregnant in another state who the adoption counselor called us. The woman was HIV positive and couldn't find anybody interested in taking the baby. So that was in March, and the baby wasn't due until May. It was just like as soon as I heard about it, I wanted to go. There was the fact that she was a newborn and that there was some chance that she would not be infected. A child has a 50-50 chance of not being infected in utero. In my experience, I don't know, more are infected than not.
California's newest citizen, right? Right. Oh, baby girl.
It was delicate because I, of course, hadn't met her mother, and I didn't know up until the last minute if she was going to change her mind about wanting to keep the baby, or if the baby would live or be stillborn or premature or what. You want to see it? You can see it. It's got a bear on it.
Anna.
And you've got a cat. Bear on it, but we'll leave it right there because she's laying on it. Cute. Whoops, 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 whoops.
He's glued to the baby.
Whoa.
One of the two, right?
Whoa.
Okay, hold it still. Keep it straight up that way. Before Tina was born, when I was in the hospital the night before, waiting, it just reminded me so much of having been in the hospital with Josh. And
It's all gone. Okay.
I was so afraid again that she wouldn't be okay. Oh, when you just tap her very gently. That helps her to burp. The way it worked out, I never could have dreamed it would be so good, that she would be so big and so robust and everything, and so pretty.
The name fits her, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Christina Elizabeth, kind of big. You want me to take that?
Okay. Okay, have a good sleep. See you a little bit later. I know when I was younger, thinking about having babies, I was all into what they'd look like and how smart they'd be, and hoping maybe they wouldn't get my nose, but they would get their father's nose or something. And but there were certain things that I wanted them to get from me that I thought were good. And so I think thinking of babies that way was pretty full of ego. And the babies that I've got, I can't have that kind of ego about them.
Everything's growing.
It looks great.
Tomatoes, kids. Hi, Misha.
Thinking about the new baby, Tina, I realized that from the moment I heard about the pregnancy, I had a special feeling that this was going to be my baby. And I just knew that she was going to be healthy. And so I didn't let myself even express that or even really think it until after she was born and I saw her and she looked so good. And even then I was very cautious about it. But now it's been 8 weeks and she seems to be healthy. And so I've been letting myself think with her, unlike with the other children, think about her future. And, you know, our future together and everything. And then a couple days ago, she started to have diarrhea. And that's a very bad sign. And we haven't been to the doctor yet or anything. She's eating well, and she doesn't always have it, so I don't know. But my reaction to that is so incredibly angry that I just don't know what to do with it. And it's like, I think to myself, you know, why can't I just have one baby that's not going to die? And it gets into stupid stuff like, you know, well, haven't I earned her? Isn't it fair? Thinking about her future being a little bit uncertain now, I'm going to have to pull myself back into another mode of day by day and not making the kind of plans, even though they're innocent enough. But it's become so automatic with the other children to not talk very far in the future. And I think for my own sanity, I'm going to have to do that with her also, until we know.
We live in a very peculiar world where a few weeks ago we were ecstatic that Nikki has epilepsy instead of some deadly virus. What was that seizure? What does it mean? Oh, it's only epilepsy. And last week with Tina, oh my God, it's only pneumonia. It's really when you hear yourself, you don't know whether to laugh or cry. All they know is that they're children. You want a different color? Oh, okay. Okay. Should I use this one?
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go.
There's a tradition in Sweden that a little girl in the household goes around on Santa Lucia Day with breakfast to serve in bed for everyone, and the little girl is dressed all in white, often has candles in her hair. Michelle was chosen to be our Lucia bride this year. So she wore the dress that was her baptism dress, actually.
We're going to go and take these wonderful breakfast rolls. We'll go give one to David. David?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks like a
that's
good one.
great. This is
Say,
great.
David.
What do I get? What do I get? Is that what I get?
David gets them all. Okay.
That one's for money.
Oh.
Comes from Righty. What do you think?
That one?
Yeah.
That looks like a good one.
Okay.
Michelle's wondering which one's for Michelle.
Oh, that's pretty good, huh? You like that? You like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord, way down in Bethlehem, way down in Bethlehem. Oh my Lord, oh my Lord.
Oh my Lord,
Was a baby,
baby. Oh my Lord, there was a little baby. Oh my Lord, way down in Bethlehem. Named the baby Jesus. Oh my Lord, they named the baby Jesus. Oh my Lord, they named the baby Jesus. Oh my Lord, way down in
Bethlehem,
way down in Bethlehem.
Because it's third week of Advent. Pink candle means a happy candle, joyful candle. Huh? Other two candles.
The little Lord Jesus laid down his sweet head. The stars in the heavens looked down where he lay. The little Lord Jesus asleep on the hay.
God bless us all. God bless you, David. God bless you, Nikki. God bless you, Michelle. God bless you, Tina. God bless us all.
God bless us all.
Let me take the tag off of this. That's a real little one.
Hi.
That's
That's
About
a big
Michelle's
one.
size.
that's a big one. Yeah.
Let's go cut that one.
Well, let's see. How about we look up this way? Whoa, look at that. Hi. Let me take my hat off. Okay. Okay, let's not take it out again, though. All right, you want to get your hand on it?
Well, here, I'll hold the branches.
We're going to go that way.
Which way? Toward me?
Yeah. Okay.
No, don't you mean backwards that way?
No, that way.
Yeah.
Going to go that way.
Other way.
That way.
Okay, so
Okay.
make sure no one's over there, huh?
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh!
When we cut the trees, I feel like we're fulfilling what it is that they were planted for, what we planted them for. And that is to make a kind of a focus for a family's or an individual's Christmas celebration. And so many people have memories of Christmas trees. There's something special about it that appeals to almost everybody. And it's true that they're only going to be in the house for a month at the most, but while they're there, they are at the center of everything. And it seems like a good life.
Oh, I see. There's more of us here than I realized. You okay, dear? You got it? You okay, Michelle? No. All right, up we go. Okay, Michelle, you underneath me? Yeah. Okay. There we go. Whoa! This is kind of nice. There's nothing scary. You like this? Huh? You like that? Sure. And then we'll turn the lights on. Huh? Yeah? Right here? Yeah.
We gotta see the star go up.
We'll put it on there. We will put it on. I just gotta help you a little bit.
Show me
A
again.
little bit. Okay, everybody.
Here goes the star. You ready? Look at the lights, Tina. Oh, there it is. Got it. Pretty tree. Wow.